For more than a century, the real engine driving Britain's global reach was not just the Royal Navy, Parliament, or even the Empire's vast territorial holdings. It was something quieter, less visible, and far more sophisticated, a financial and intelligence partnership that shaped the nation's power behind the scenes. The MI6 banking connection is one of the least discussed but most influential forces in modern British history. Long before MI6 officially existed, British merchants, financiers, and overseas trading companies relied on informal intelligence networks to protect their cargoes, trade routes, and overseas investments. When Britain created the Secret Service Bureau in 1909, the foundation of what would become MI6, it was done explicitly to monitor threats to Britain's financial and commercial interests. Unlike other nations that built intelligence structures around military strategy, Britain built its intelligence framework around trade, banking, and economic leverage. This was not conspiracy, it was policy, openly recorded in early Foreign Office papers. As the empire began to shrink in the 20th century, the need for economic intelligence grew even stronger. Britain had to compensate for declining industrial dominance by strengthening its control over global finance. MI6 provided something no private bank could legally obtain: advance warning about political instability, foreign competition, and opportunities for strategic investment. Meanwhile, bankers in the City of London quietly funded intelligence work during operations where government budgets could not be revealed. During both World Wars, military historians recorded how banks like the Rothschild Group, Lloyds, and Barings provided foreign exchange data, gold market insights, and commercial intelligence that directly shaped wartime decision-making. This cooperation was so seamless that by the 1930s, MI6 officers were regularly stationed inside embassies and consulates, not only to gather political secrets but also to track commodity shipments, oil concessions, mining contracts, and the financial behavior of rival powers. British leaders believed, and history proved them correct, that economic intelligence was the backbone of geopolitical influence. And so, a discrete bond formed between MI6 and Britain's financial elite, one that would fund operations, shape markets, and help maintain Britain's position long after its empire faded. The origins of this alliance can be traced back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when Britain's global economy was deeply exposed. British banks had lent billions in today's terms to build railways in Argentina, mines in South Africa, plantations in India and Malaya, and shipping networks across China. Any political instability abroad threatened not only foreign investments but also the pound sterling itself, which at that time was the backbone of global finance. Recognizing this, the Committee of Imperial Defence recommended in 1909 that Britain establish a coordinated intelligence system to protect its financial interests overseas. Many early MI6 officers were recruited directly from the City of London because they already had global contacts and understood international markets. By 1914, as tensions escalated in Europe, MI6 and major British banks were working together to track German financial movements, gold shipments, and credit networks, information that proved vital once the First World War began. British intelligence intercepted communications showing that Germany was attempting to destabilize the pound by purchasing gold in neutral countries. The Bank of England provided MI6 with detailed market reports, allowing the government to counter Germany's strategy by secretly influencing gold flows through Allied banks. Historian Niall Ferguson documented how the Rothschild banking family provided wartime intelligence on commodity prices and debt structures across Europe, acting as an informal but essential partner to MI6. After the war, this relationship only deepened. During the 1920s and 1930s, MI6 monitored foreign governments that owed money to British banks, especially nations struggling to repay debts from the war. When the global financial crisis hit in 1929, MI6 provided the Treasury and the Bank of England with intelligence on currency manipulation, sovereign defaults, and extremist political movements that threatened British investments abroad. Much of this was later declassified. A 1931 internal memo from the Treasury, now public, reveals that MI6 warnings helped the government anticipate bank failures in Central Europe, failures that triggered the pound's exit from the gold standard. That moment reshaped Britain's financial policy for decades. Even as the empire weakened, Britain's intelligence financial machine ensured a continued role in global economic affairs. During the Second World War and the long Cold War that followed, the MI6 banking partnership became even more critical. In wartime, intelligence networks were needed not only to track enemy troop movements but also to understand how Germany financed its war machine. MI6 played a vital role in identifying gold looted by the Nazis, monitoring Swiss banks, and intercepting the economic plans of Axis powers. One famous example is the British operation that detected Germany's large-scale counterfeiting scheme, an effort to destabilize the pound by flooding Europe with fake British banknotes. After the war, the focus shifted to a new battlefield: economic influence. MI6 began monitoring Soviet attempts to infiltrate Western financial markets, manipulate commodity prices, or undermine the Western alliance through economic pressure. Declassified MI5 files show that Soviet agents attempted to gather intelligence on British banks, trade unions, and industrial policy. MI6 reciprocated by tracking Soviet oil sales, gold reserves, and foreign currency operations. This economic intelligence helped Britain navigate financial crises in the 1950s. 60s, and 70s, including the 1967 devaluation of the pound and the 1976 crisis that forced Britain to seek a loan from the International Monetary Fund. During this period, the City of London reinvented itself as the world's hub for eurodollar trading, US dollars held outside the US, a market that grew rapidly because of its lack of American regulation. MI6 monitored geopolitical risks affecting this new market, including political instability in oil-producing countries and the financial strategies of rival powers. Meanwhile, British banks funded discrete overseas operations that could not appear in government budgets. For example, historians have documented how the British government relied on private financing networks to support operations in the Middle East during the late 1950s, including the covert Anglo-American strategy that helped maintain influence after the Suez Crisis. These were not fictional conspiracies, they were policy decisions, now documented in Foreign Office archives. The underlying belief remained unchanged: Britain's global position depended on maintaining its role at the center of international finance, and intelligence was the shield protecting that position. By the late 20th century, Britain's economy had transformed. Manufacturing declined, the empire was gone, and London's financial sector became the backbone of national power. In this new world, MI6 adjusted its mission. Instead of protecting imperial trade routes, it now focused on safeguarding Britain's financial markets, defending the pound, and monitoring economic threats. When Margaret Thatcher deregulated the City of London in 1986, known as the Big Bang, foreign banks flooded into London, turning it into the world's most international financial center. With this new level of global influence came new risks. MI6 began monitoring money laundering, international corruption, banking fraud, and foreign attempts to manipulate British markets. Declassified parliamentary oversight committee reports confirm that MI6 was heavily involved in tracking financial flows linked to terrorism, rogue states, and emerging markets during the 1990s. Meanwhile, the Bank of England relied on MI6 insights during currency crises, including the events leading up to Black Wednesday in 1992. Although the government denies direct MI6 involvement, several economists and former civil servants have publicly acknowledged that foreign political intelligence played a role in Britain's understanding of speculative attacks on the pound. In the 2000s, MI6 expanded its economic intelligence capabilities further. After the 2008 financial crisis, British intelligence worked closely with the Treasury and the Bank of England to assess the stability of global banks, foreign sovereign debt, and potential vulnerabilities threatening the UK's recovery. Again, this collaboration is documented in parliamentary committee reports, not speculation. Today, London's position as a global financial hub exposes Britain to cyber attacks, foreign espionage, sanctions, evasion networks, and hostile financial activity. MI6 now works closely with financial regulators, major banks, and international partners to defend Britain's economy from these threats. The intelligence banking alliance that began more than a century ago remains active, modern, and essential. When we look back across a century of global change, one truth becomes clear. Britain's power was never based solely on military victories or diplomatic achievements. It was built on the ability to gather information, protect financial interests, and use intelligence as a strategic tool. The partnership between MI6 and the City of London is not a conspiracy, it is a documented reality, rooted in the earliest days of the British state. From protecting imperial investments to navigating the Cold War, from defending the pound to safeguarding modern markets, this alliance shaped Britain's global position long after the empire dissolved. Today, while Britain no longer commands vast territories, it still influences the world through finance, regulation, intelligence, and geopolitical strategy. That influence is protected behind the scenes by the same quiet alliance that began in 1909. As you've seen in this video, the MI6 banking connection is not just about espionage or economics. It is the story of how Britain adapted to survive in a changing world. If you found this exploration eye-opening, informative, or surprising, make sure you like the video, share it with others who care about British history and finance, and subscribe to British Economic Archives for more deep dives into the hidden forces that shaped our nation's story. Your support helps us uncover more forgotten histories, more declassified secrets, and more economic truths the world rarely discusses. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.